Hello, everyone. Welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for this edition of YBMcast, and we have a special coach's preview. Today on the show, we have, check it out, Class 3 state champion head coach from Duchesne. I said that correctly?
Yep, you got it.
High school, Mike Hollander. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. This is awesome. Love the opportunity to talk about our program and talk about the past and the future, I guess.
Yes, especially since you're right down the street, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
This is we've talked in the past. I got to see you guys, and I want to revisit some of this a little bit. Overall record last year, you guys were 25-10. You were Class 3 or District 5 champions. You beat Prairie in the district championship.
Yeah.
Prairie was a good team.
Yeah, I mean, I think they were the best team that we played.
Is that right?
In our whole run. We kind of said it halfway through the season that we thought that we may be the two best teams in the state. And we kind of, going into districts was like, hey, whoever makes it out of our district's probably going to go to the Final Four. And there were some things that happened in some of those other districts that when those things happen, we were like, yeah, whoever makes it out of this district is going to the Final Four. And the Prairie kids, that was an awesome group of kids. I knew a lot of them. And I'm glad that we were able to win, but I also feel, I feel for those guys because they lost in the district championship game 4 times in their 4 years. Ooh. And they had a really strong senior class. So, but that's baseball.
That's baseball. That's competition. Yeah. And you guys, it was a good game. You beat them 9-8, and you guys play your district tournament at BMAC.
Yeah. So we were able to host, and that's where we play all of our varsity home games.
Okay.
Is out there, and it's an awesome. I mean, that's probably been for us kind of part of our turnaround has been getting out there, and that playing surface out there is actually has been taken care of by a Cardinals grounds crew guy for, probably 10 or 15 years. I mean, I don't know exactly how long Rob was out there taking care of that field, but he's actually not taking care of it anymore. So we're going to see what happens. But, the guy that's going to be doing it now, I think he'll do a good job. He's working with Rob for the last few years, but it's an awesome playing surface. And then they've got the PA system and, the lights. We're able to play a lot of our home games at night. So, parents and stuff can come to the games, and they're not having to cut out of work at, 3:30 to get there in time for the start of the game. So, we've loved it out there.
Gotta love the lights. Yeah. Well, we've seen you guys playing during the district championships, we were out there with Game 7 baseball.
Yeah.
There was tournament baseball, high school baseball. There's all kinds of baseball going on.
One of those things, those early round district games, you've got, the tournament games, usually it was the Game 7 tournament that weekend, right? Yeah. And they, there might be a ball that flies on but we've never had an issue with it.
Right.
But I always worry about that of like, there's going to be an important play and the ball's flying onto the field.
I could see that with district play especially.
Yeah. And it's like, we kind of tell the umpires before the game, like, if it happens, you can't, like, if a run's coming in to score and a ball flies on the field, you can't kill the game. You just got to let it go. Yeah. And, let's hope that nothing actually alters the outcome of a play.
Right.
And if it does, like, we're going to have to get together and, make a decision here. But
I hadn't thought about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And we haven't had the issue, when we get the championship game was the only game going on that night. And that's how it's usually is. Just, on the weekends, there's that tournament going on. So, but that game was, I mean, I don't know if I'll ever get to play in a game that had that, up and downs of emotions. We got down 3 runs in the bottom of the 7th, or at the top of the 7th. Sorry, we gave up 4 in the top of the 7th. So we had a 1-run lead going into that. And we were down 3, and then we came back and tied it in the bottom, and then won it in the 8th. So it was a roller coaster there. So,
Well, and it's true, kind of what you're alluding to, Prairie game 9-8, because your state championship run after that, you guys averaged 9.8 runs per game while only giving up 1.5
Yeah.
in 4 games from the sectionals through to the title game.
Right.
So, I mean, that's a pretty big scoring differential.
Yeah. We were clicking at the right time.
Sure.
You hear that a lot.
And that's no disrespect to the other teams. It's just,
Right.
kind of to your point.
Yeah. Like I said, there's a lot of things that go into when you make that run. And it's not like it's always going to be awesome the whole way. I mean, sometimes you just have bad luck and, you don't get through.
Right.
But when we talk to our guys right now, we were this close to not making out of our district.
Yeah.
Literally we were down. We had the tying run on second base in the bottom of the 7th with 2 strikes at home plate. I mean, we were 1 pitch away from, not even making it out of our district. And then you go on to win state, and, that's kind of been our big thing this offseason is like, hey, we need to understand that, yes, you guys were state champions. I'm not trying to take that away from you, but you guys also need to realize, you weren't that far away from not even making it out of your district. So
feeling like the kids from Prairie.
Yeah, that's right. Be humble enough to know that, this is the difference, right? And what are we doing to overcome that difference right now? That's, again, it's baseball.
Absolutely.
I mean, it can be minute in the way you win. So,
well, one of the cool things about this is you only lost 2 seniors.
Yeah.
You got, oh my gosh, and we're going to get into that. But first, I want to ask you about this. There's a couple things because we were talking with Coach Struckoff from St. Francis Borgia.
Yeah.
And I heard that the Archdiocesan Athletic Association is no longer there. That's interesting. And so have you guys, did you join another conference? Did you have time, or are you just going independent?
Yeah, so we're independent right now. The school did try and get into other conferences. One of the things was, so we're under this Archdiocese umbrella. They basically said, hey, if you guys are going to disband your conference, if you guys go and join new conferences, you all have to go join the same one. Well, the conferences that are going to work, for Duchesne is different than a conference that might work for St. Francis Borgia.
Right.
And St. Dominic.
Right.
We all have, different, demographics and locations and all those things that, there's some similarities, but I mean, there's big time differences between those 3. And so there's not a conference that would accept, all those, differences and be like, yeah, hey, we can take on all of you. Right.
Right.
So we're independent. And for us, I like it. I think on the football side, scheduling wise, that's where that hurts the most. But for us, I mean, this conference broke up for a reason. And, we played 2 conference games last year.
I was going to say,
so I'm not going to necessarily say what the reasons were, but we played 2 conference games last year. It got to the point where, people weren't even really honoring our conference games. And then some of the games weren't competitive, so I mean, that could be a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, that's
there, but
it's unfortunate.
Yeah, it is. We just really haven't had a conference, the last couple of years. And even though we were in one, it still didn't really feel like we were in one.
Gotcha.
Right. And
gotcha.
And, we see your guys' GAC preview and stuff you guys do. And that is awesome. Be nice if we had a conference that we could, have that with. Right. But
now you guys, Duchesne was in the GAC for many years.
Yeah, we were. That was I went to Duchesne, and when I was there, that was graduated in 2009. We were in the GAC. There was a time, when the GAC started getting larger schools, and some of the smaller schools that are in there now weren't in there at that time.
Right.
And so they made a move to go to the AAA. and joined some of the other, archdiocese schools there. And it was right after that some smaller schools joined the GAC, and they split it up into the system they have now with what's like the North, South, and Central divisions, right? So
and I think before when you guys were there, it might only been
it
two.
was two, right? But then you still played, randomly schools from the other side.
Sure.
Right. So, at that time, we had probably 600 kids at the school. We would go and play, Francis Howell, and like that's going to be
thanks.
Yeah. It's depending on the day, if we have to throw our number 4 guy or 5 guy against their 4 or 5, like that's not going to be a very competitive game, right? We just don't have the depth.
Right.
And so, there was reasons why that change was made, and I don't know if they go back and look at it and how things shook out. I don't know if we would have made that change, seeing how it matriculated over a 10-year period, but
yeah, because the North, it's made up of basically Class 4. There's I think everybody except for Warrenton. I think Warrenton's a Class 5
and Holt.
Holt.
Yeah, and so Holt's new to that. They're new to that.
To the north side.
The north side. They're new to that.
And with all that's going on there with Holt, they may end up in Class 4.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. Yeah, we don't know where those numbers are going to shake out.
They ever think about coming back to the GAC?
Duchesne?
Yeah.
I would love to go back. I think I don't know if the GAC wants any private schools in it.
That's interesting.
And I think, I totally get that.
Because there's St. Dominic, and St. Dominic was part of the AAA, the AA too, right?
They were part of the AAA. Yeah. I don't think they've ever been in the GAC though. So even back in the day, they were always in the AAA, but we would fit in really well in that North.
I think so.
District.
I agree.
Conference, right? And St. Dominic would fit in really well
in the Central.
Or even they would be able to compete. In the South.
In the South, right?
But there's a lot that goes on there. Those
because you have Lutheran St. Charles there as well.
Yeah, and Lutheran St. Charles would be, they'd be able to compete.
So I think it's interesting to look at that dynamic and see if those schools might be able to.
Yeah. Those decisions are way above my pay grade, I think.
I'm stirring a little.
That's right. It would be interesting, and bringing back some of those local rivalries. And we still play, like this year we got St. Charles West, St. Charles High, Warrenton, all those teams, Winfield, all the teams in the North are on our schedule with the exception of Holt. And, Lutheran St. Charles, right? So we still play those games. You get into like a conference and you're playing for a conference championship, though, that adds a little bit of, extra to those games. Whereas, that might be our biggest game that week for them. I think they all, take our game and look at it as important. They don't want to lose that game. But if it comes to deciding between, that conference game that week or when they play us, they're probably choosing their conference game of who they're, when they're putting their best out there. So it kind of hurts those rivalries a little bit, but
I would say yes to that.
Yeah.
Let's get into the team. You guys, you think are you going to go up in class point system? Did you meet that?
So we should go to 4. We don't know. Every sport, the breakout on how they break the classes up is going to be different. Of like the class size that you submitted for your how they determine the classes where you sit. We were on towards the low end of class 3 in terms of our enrollment numbers last year. So, it's possible that when they do their breakouts, that, we might be, back on the top end of 2 and then we'd be in 3. We're planning on being 4. I'd say we want to be in 4. Again, bring the that's going to put us in with like an Orchard Farm, St. Charles West, these local schools that, our kids have played with and
Absolutely.
against a lot of these kids
Yeah.
growing up. A lot of them went to the same grade schools and middle schools as some of these kids. And so bringing that back and having that, postseason atmosphere with some of those teams is, it's going to be fun.
Sure.
And also at the same time, I'm sure some frustrations for some people, but I think, I hope we're in 4. You can
Always a good
class
challenge too,
yeah,
right?
yeah. It'll be a challenge, and I think we played Licking,
Right.
and Coach Antle down there who retired this year. I saw you had the thing from state over there that had our coach's records on it. I don't know if you looked at that. He had like 600 wins, and now he got sitting there with like 60 wins or something. I was like, man, good thing.
Been around a
Yeah,
little
good
bit.
thing they don't decide these games by your career coaching record. Um,
Oh,
but they had
mercy.
won Class 3 in 2023,
23, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, and they returned most of their guys. Their core, their whole pitching staff came back. I think their big loss on their team last year was their starting catcher, and I think it might have been Coach Antle's son. I think might have been there. I don't know that.
I think
Don't
you may
quote
be
that,
right.
but so he was the big loss off that team. They returned everybody, and I had talked to him a little bit, and he just kind of started asked me. I said, "Well, hey, we got everybody coming back. Like, what's this been like for you?" He said, "It's hard to for there to be motivation. It's like been there, done that kind of thing. Like in baseball, especially, I don't. We'll find out this year. Like, I don't know." Yeah, the senior motivation at the end of the high school's over. They got graduation going on. They've got they've got all the graduation parties that all the families and stuff are planning and all these things that happen at the end of your senior year. And with baseball, it's hard to keep those guys focused towards the end of the year, and all these other things are going on when you've got a bunch of seniors. So that's going to be interesting for us and how we kind of navigate this. We've got a couple guys that are committed.
Yeah.
And for those guys, I don't worry about work and the ethic how they're going to go about their work and the effort they're going to put into that. But we also have, some guys that, previously, I think every off season it's been like, hey, I want to play college baseball. And then, now they've kind of decided, look, I mean, I don't know if I want to play in college. I realize it's like a full-time job if you're going to go, right? And
If you're gonna college baseball.
and they don't know if they want to do that. And so where has their level of motivation been this off season, and overall, I think we've been good, but there's definitely some guys I'm like, yeah, you're not working as hard as you were last year. I'm kind of worried about this. So,
Well, starting with these returners, I mean, I look at the three-headed monster you had last year coming back on the mound. I always start with pitching because I think pitching is, you got to have the depth.
yeah,
You got to have those guys. And, starting, I didn't know, but I've known Matt Greasy for a long time.
yeah,
But I think it's his brother, right?
yeah,
His youngest brother.
yep,
On the mound for you guys, 60 innings. He was 6-0, a 1.39 ERA, and he pitched very well for you.
yeah,
And then you got Jackson Nicodime coming back and Gavin Moffitt.
yep,
Those were the guys that had the bulk of your innings,
yeah.
and they're right back on the mound.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll get this out there. If people don't know about it, they're going to know about it now. But TJ actually got injured in October. So he's not going to be available to pitch for us on the mound this year. We're trying to get him, to where he's able to, participate in that summer circuit. Because, I'm not the guy to talk to about this, and I don't make these decisions, but he's a big time arm. If he's, healthy, I really wanted to be able to see, hey, what kind of offers is he's going to be getting?
Sure.
He's he's an elite controller of the baseball. He just any pitch, he can put in the zone at any count. And he's got one of the best changeups that I've ever seen, through all the different levels that I've seen baseball games and played baseball games at. And he's just, he's a dude. And so we're not going to have him on the mound.
Sure.
And, we talked to our guys about this of like, we had high expectations for where we would finish up last year before the season started. And, nobody expected TJ to be what TJ was last year. He had a big jump in velocity from his freshman year to his sophomore year. And, I mean, I thought he was going to be good, but I didn't know he was going to be, arguably, in that conversation of like, the best pitcher in the area in terms of like output.
Yeah.
And so, we're looking for somebody else to step up. We had the same, we thought Jackson and Gavin were going to be our 1 and 2 going into the year last year, right? We thought TJ was going to be our 3. We thought going into the year last year that we had a chance to win state. And so, I don't think that our, goals and expectations in that arena are any different. But obviously
injuries, man.
We wish we wish we could have them, right?
Yeah. That's the one thing you can't control.
Yeah.
You can't control injuries. It is what it is.
Yeah.
So who are some of the guys you're looking at that can maybe come in behind Gavin and Jackson and look to see about innings there?
Yeah, so Lucas DeLeo threw a lot of innings for us last year. He's going to be a senior on the mound for us. And he's always going to be kind of it's going to take him a while to get going. He's a big-time hockey player. And so, but he's a lefty. He threw probably almost 40 innings for us last year. There was a time where he was used a lot out of the bullpen. He entered into like, I think of days that we played, he entered into like 11 straight days of games that we had played. Not pitching 11 straight days, but, over the course of, 3 weeks, if there was days that we played, let's say there was 11 of them, he entered in, whether it was 5 pitches or, 20 pitches, so he threw a lot of innings for us. We hope that he can kind of take that next step. He throws strikes. We've got some guys that are coming up that have been in our JV program. Rudy Weber, Ben Bierbauer, we kind of hope those guys can kind of take the next step.
Sure.
We've got, a transfer, junior transfer that Finnegan Ryan that we think is going to be able to help us out on the mound. So, after we get past those, top 2 guys, I mean, it's like who's going to kind of like seize that moment and come in and be that guy who's going to be the TJ from last year, right?
Who steps into that role?
Yeah.
And those are the things, with high school and, coaching in general, you have expectations with certain things, injuries, and now it's a matter of, okay, how do we reset? And when you're talking to those guys, Coach, what are the things you talk to, to help them understand, not to feel pressure of it, but what's that thought? What's that conversation? Hey, here's your opportunity.
Right. Yeah. I think they understand the opportunity there. And the biggest thing is getting them to understand, in my opinion, I guess, is getting them to understand, like, this isn't, we're not doing rocket science out here. Right. And so, like, the objective, it's not like we don't understand, what the goal is here. And if you can throw strikes and control the run game, and we can lead with that, like, good things are going to happen. Easier said than done sometimes, right? But I think just trying to simplify the game for them. And they got to get comfortable, that's, and over time as they, throw, and it's not going to be perfect. And I think that's kind of too is them understanding that it is okay to fail and having the freedom to go out there and fail and know that, like, I'm going to get another opportunity. Right. And I think those things, just the comfort level of that can go a long way. But we're going to find out. We'll see if we can get them to feel comfortable.
Well, offensively, you guys, you got it done offensively throughout the season. At at the top of that, you've had Sam Jost, I believe is
Yep.
his.
Jost.
Is
Yeah.
it Jost?
Yeah.
Okay. Jack Burley, who we talked about before the
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
Both these guys, Jost was 398, a 547, 456. That's slash 39 runs scored. That's a lot of runs. Also 24 RBI. My gosh, that's 63 runs in a season. That's a lot of run production.
Yeah. Yeah. Sam, he's, when he's done, he's already got a lot of the records now, career records and single season records for a lot of those stats you kind of went through. But he's like very close to breaking a lot of, more career records that he'll probably get in the first half of the season this year. So, I mean, for us, he's going to go down as, one of the all-time, great players that we've ever had in our program. And he's an awesome kid. So, really happy for him that he's kind of had that opportunity to do that. And the thing that I always say about Sam is, he's been a great player for us ever since he was a freshman. But Sam he played double-A baseball, through, 8th grade. He was not a triple-A major kid. Now, in my opinion, he probably had that kind of talent, but he's kind of a testament of at that smaller school level, he was able to come in and play right away for us. And at a lot of the other schools, I don't think he would have had that opportunity to kind of flourish there. I couldn't say enough good things about the kid, but his numbers are kind of wild. But the thing that he does that's awesome is, his first year he got hit by pitch, I think 17 times. Okay, he broke the school record for hit by pitches as a freshman, and then I think he also broke the career record for hit by pitches. If he didn't break it his freshman year, he tied it or was 1 or 2 away. So he's got that record by a ton. I don't know if that's one that I don't know if will ever be broken, but there was some games where he'd get in the hole 0-2 or something, and he'd be up there,
throwing the chicken wing.
Sometimes they call him back, and, I think there was a time or two that they even called a strike on the pitch, and it was that was a strike, dude. He's oh,
My bad,
we
coach.
did have to tell him hey man, you are a good hitter. You don't necessarily have to
Swing
go up there
back,
trying
bro.
to get hit, but.
Well, he also had 21 base on balls and 22 stolen bases.
Yeah.
So it's not he's getting on base, period.
Yeah.
And that shows in his on base percentage at 547.
Career stolen base holder. He got that before. I think after his sophomore season, he was our career stolen base.
Wow.
And he's not, hopefully he doesn't get, he's not fast, he's not slow, but he just,
right. He's not elite speed.
Yeah. He understands timing and he's got a feel for it. And he just gets, he's able to get good jumps and, he's good enough at it to be able to take advantage of, things that are provided in the run game. So.
Absolutely. If you can, pitchers in high school have a hard time holding runners.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time, if you can figure out a pitcher, you're not stealing on the catcher most of the time in high school.
Right.
And
right.
that's just
No,
kind of the way it is.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
You've got some Jack Burley. We talked about, 365, 524, 79, and another kid, 29 runs scored, 25 RBI.
Yeah.
Very productive. 7 doubles, 2 triples. I mean, he had 25 base on balls. The thing that was impressive to me is 11 Ks and 128 plate appearances.
Mm-hmm.
That's great plate discipline.
Yeah. Yeah. Jack's awesome at the plate. He's an awesome kid all around. But he's, really came into his own. He actually transferred in from St. Dominic as a sophomore, so he couldn't play for us as a sophomore.
Mm-hmm.
He probably would if he had a few home runs on the JV team. He had the most home runs in our program that year when he was a sophomore. So, but he takes great at bats, and he's going to play at St. Louis Community College. I think he's going to do awesome there. Mm-hmm. And for Coach Goodrich there, and he's he takes elite at bats. He understands the strike zone. I mean, he just. He's one of those guys that there's some guys when you're watching Major League Baseball games and the umpire, you can see the box. The umpire calls the ball like a little bit outside that box, and the hitter's like all upset about it. And you're like, man, these guys are good. It's like Jack is the guy at the plate. He gets a strike called on him, and he has this little like thing that he does where I know that he's like, I know that was a ball, and like I'm upset that I just got that ball taken.
But I'm
away
not
from
going to
me,
show up
but-
the blue.
Right. And I'm like, hey, I was like, I kind of trust Jack, more than what the call was there, right? So, and his approach at the plate, overall, I've always kind of told, he's probably the most college ready bat that we have with just like his overall game at the plate. Like Mizzou was at our game last year, and they were like, "Who's this kid?" They're like, "Hey, like we saw some stuff there." So, that's exciting for him, and then hopefully he can kind of keep progressing with that. And I was watching the basketball game last night. He also plays basketball, and like, Jack is jacked. He's put on some muscle, and like it's like yeah, that guy's not the guy you want running down the lane at you. But he's just an overall strong kid. So I'm excited to see what he does this year.
Very good.
Yeah.
You got you talked about Lucas DeLeo.
Yeah.
On the mound. Luke Fink, Caden Wolf, Landon Reagan.
Yeah.
All guys coming back, going to be contributors for you.
Yeah. And Caden's been he's been a 3-year starter. He's probably will end up being the RBI, record holder at the school. I think he's like pretty close to breaking that. So he hit out of the 4-hole for us last year. So expecting some production out of him. He's guys kind of moved around, play a little infield, play a little outfield.
Sure.
Luke and Landon are definitely they played huge roles last year. It's kind of like something that was unique about our team, and I think really kind of propelled us was they were kind of not full-time players for us. They started here and there, but they would come off the bench and they would pinch run. And those are two of our fastest guys, and they're kids that they can go out and get a bag. They could. Luke, I don't know exactly what his numbers were, but he probably had over 15 stolen bases last year, and probably over half of those, or more than half of those, was not him getting on base and getting a hit. He'd go in and run. So
Steal a base.
Yeah, and Rehagen, awesome kid. He's kind of like.
So I said that incorrectly. It's Rehagen.
Rehagen. Well, I didn't catch it. So
I said Reagan. So
okay. Yeah. So, but he's like the type of player when you have a really good team, like you're always gonna have somebody like Landon on your team that has like his kind of character and always willing to do, whatever the team needs, both of those guys, kind of funny we're talking about them, and even Lucas, like all three, some of our hardest workers. And it's like, yeah, if there's ever an opportunity to be given to anybody and like someone's going to get an at bat, it's really hard not to give it to them, because they're just consistent, all 4 years, even this off season. So, I love those three guys. Not that I don't love everybody else, but
I gotcha.
Yeah.
You got the two big juniors coming back for you, Jamison Forrest and Jackson Nicodime.
Yeah.
Of course, Nicodime on the mound, but also with the bat. These two guys produced. I mean, Forrest, I remember watching you guys in the tournament at the state championships, and he stood out. He had a big 2 games for you in that Final Four as well.
He had a great Final Four. He had a great season, and some of his numbers, I mean, he did not start out good. I mean, he probably had a rough first couple weeks, and I don't know if you have his strikeouts on there. How many strikeouts he had?
He had 14 Ks.
Okay, so
which is not a lot, but
I think he had 11 of those in the first 2 weeks of the season. So, he was struggling, and when you see JMO, he's a kid. You look at, you're like, yeah, that kid looks like he can play a little bit of baseball. It just looks the part. When the ball comes off his bat, it just comes off a little bit differently. He's going to obviously produce. We'll see where he's at in the lineup. Last year he kind of fit in that 5 spot and really was kind of like, I know it's not the traditional cleanup spot, but he was kind of there, like the back end of like the big bats, and he had an awesome Final Four.
Yeah.
He really stood out defensively and at the plate.
I agree.
He can play, he's got awesome hands over at third base. He's one of our guys that if, at any moment he could hit the ball out of the yard. So he had a couple home runs last year. And his big thing is going to be, having more like Jack Burley type at bats, because he's so talented that he can go and he can hit the pitch that's out of the strike zone, right? And he can flick it out to wherever he wants it to go to. But like, really honing in early in that count on that pitch that he can, do more damage than, blooper out to left field or something.
Yeah, behind in the count or something.
Right. So, but, we expect that he's going to, have a great year for us and excited to see what he does. So,
absolutely.
And Jackson, I know you talked about Jackson, kind of left him hanging there, but he's going to be, for us, he's been, just so consistent over the last 2 years. He's going to be playing shortstop for us this year, with TJ not being able to throw. So he's sliding over there. He played an awesome shortstop down in the Final Four and all through the postseason. With TJ being on the mound, we kind of knew that he's going to be the guy playing shortstop. So we really, even when TJ was available to play short, we really kind of started putting him at shortstop a lot more. And he was really good with that transition. I was actually, he's a great fielder, but that's a big move from second base to shortstop. I mean, the positions.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people make that move, but like they're completely different. In the fact of like, what you need to do before you field the baseball and be ready to get it across the diamond. So, I expect him to have, another really solid year. And he's probably going to break a lot of Sam Joe's offensive records, his senior year. So I'm excited to see him to have the opportunity to do that. He's not going to break the hit by pitches or the stolen bases. But he has had an awesome offseason. He looks, really good. He's gotten stronger. He's one of those guys we talk about who our best players are. And you're like, it's really good when some of your best players are your hardest workers. That makes it, a lot easier to tell everybody else to work harder. They see the example, right?
Sure.
And so, I'm excited to see what he does this year. But
looking forward to it, Coach.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity for another run. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. You never know.
You don't know.
Yeah.
Folks, head coach Mike Hollander, Duchesne High School, Class 3 state champions in 2024. Yeah. It looks good.
We're gonna go for it in Class 4. Hopefully we can.
We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
What happens?
We'll see where districts play out.
Yeah,
right? Because we don't even know who's gonna be in our district,
no,
right? It's fun, but it's also like kind of crazy at the same time.
It's always interesting when it comes to the district part because we'll know that in like March sometime. So there you go.
Yeah. You could do a whole show about district release.
Oh, man. Yeah, we will. We will definitely do that. It's a lot of fun. Hey, thanks for tuning in, folks. We do appreciate it. We appreciate Coach Hollander taking the time. If you like what we're doing, take a minute. Hit the like button. If you like this show, like it, share it out with your friends. Hit the subscribe button and the notification. Hit that dinger next to it. It isn't a home run, but it is notifications for upcoming episodes such as this. We do appreciate it. I forgot my buddies over at Game 7 Baseball, game7baseball.com. Great partners. As always with our show, make sure you get in game7baseball.com. Go check out the tournaments. We've got some great stuff coming up all summer long. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great day in the Lord. pitchers, keep throwing strikes, and hitters, give them some advice, Coach.
Hit them where they ain't.
He's watching the show. We'll talk to you later.
Hey, hey, hey.